I guess in this final portion, we can conclude by both like simultaneously reflecting backwards and looking forwards. As an international criminal lawyer who is confronted with some of the most atrocious aspects of human behavior, how do you manage to kind of keep faith in the world, in the future, in international law? Do you have like a legal hero or heroine that you look up to, or a guiding force that gets you through?
My hero is not a legal one, but my hero is my mother. So I definitely have a heroine. That's my mother. Look, you know, the thing is that if all of these survivors can come forward and talk about what's happened to them and share with us and repeat it again and again and again, and come out feeling that justice has been served in some way, right? Then how can I let that get me down? You know, I've seen many more cases of courage and bravery and humanity than I have atrocities. Okay, and that's just how it is, and that's what I tell all my children. Okay, yes, there are awful things that happen in the world, but they are far and dramatically overtaken by the good in the world. And I still do believe that. I really do believe that. And that comes from my mother. Okay, I mean, that my heroine, and she was a teenager during World War II, and she went through all the concentration camps, including Auschwitz, and she survived. She came out of that as an optimist, believing in the good in humanity, which when I say it sounds crazy, but I know that it's true to who she is, and she emulated that in everything she did. And so she's the kind of motivation for what I do. I always believe there's more good than bad. And every story, and actually if you look at it, you will see, if you look at the atrocities, you will also hear stories of humanity and courage and of bravery and of rescuers. You know, so that's my view, and I have that view deeply. Okay, I don't have it in a naive, flippant way. I believe that because I have seen that in every context where I've either investigated or prosecuted or supported local prosecutors, I have seen that there are the most powerful stories of humanity that come out of those terrible, terrible crimes. And if the survivors can hold on to those stories, then surely we also must hold on to those stories. So that's what keeps me going.
That's an incredible answer. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Sure.
What advice would you have for young women considering a career in international criminal law today? What are some of the different pathways into the profession? And what are your thoughts on that?
I'm going to be really brutally honest. I hope that's okay. If we do our job right, then these crimes should be prosecuted at home in national courts. Okay, so the industry of internationalized practice of international criminal law should, if we're doing our job right, should get smaller and smaller and smaller, right? The ICC and courts such as that should be are structured as last resort options, only if the country is not willing or able to prosecute these crimes at home. And as such, and even when we have so many countries that are still unfortunately unwilling and unable to prosecute these crimes at home, the ICC still, the expectations are so much larger than the capacity will ever be, even when it operates at its optimum. So the future of international criminal law is about domestic application of international criminal law. That's what it's about. So my advice to students who want to go and practice international criminal law is to go to the field, do field-based work, because international crimes are not committed in Cambridge or in Los Angeles. You know, like international crimes, if we want to be good prosecutors, we have to go to the ground. I'm not talking about going during a war, okay? But we have to go to the communities where these crimes have been committed and support our peers there to bring localized justice. That's really what international criminal law in practice should be about, with a minority of people doing it at the international level, because we can't do without that. Don't get me wrong, okay? There are brilliant national processes under universal jurisdiction going on in a number of countries, and it just keeps expanding, and that's just beautiful. And that is the domestic application of international law. The jurisdictional mechanism for that is one that's becoming more and more used. So there's a lot of work to be done in that, which really does bring, you know, like if you have a case, a war crimes case about crimes committed in Syria, and it's brought in a German court, because we call it a universal jurisdiction case, but actually there's a jurisdictional link because the accused is there, the victims are there, or some of them are. But there is accountability being brought, even where a place like Syria is decades away probably from any national process. But still, it's a national trial in the German court. That's a very powerful thing. So I think as we look forward, and anybody who wants to practice international criminal law in the United States, there isn't any. So you guys better start building it. Yeah, because like the US is lagging behind, very, very far behind. There's a lot of brilliant litigation, okay, civil litigation being brought, and has been for years. And my law partner, Kathy Roberts, is an expert in that. And that's her expertise that she also brings to the work we're doing in different countries now. But nobody's ever been prosecuted. I think there was one case of some kind. Sorry, I don't want to misquote something, okay? But I mean, they're like, it's not only a political thing. So it's not only during this time where things are so up in the air, okay? So I would very much encourage law students who want to study, who want to do international criminal law, to, first of all, I'd encourage you to go to the field, spend time in the field as much as you can. I would also encourage you you have to gain courtroom experience. I would encourage you to look to national jurisdictions. If you have another citizenship, you can move around, and and end to end, if you want to stay in the United States too. I mean, at the moment there are really not that many careers in international criminal law in the United States, unless you want to do be a scholar. So there's a powerful academic community there, of course. But to actually prosecute war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide in the U.S. courts is not something that is like a heavily populated activity yet. So that your task is set if you want to do that. But I really encourage a focus on national systems, because that's really where this international criminal law should be applied.
Fantastic, thank you. I guess just in conclusion, if there are any concluding remarks that you have and want to share with our listeners, now's the time.
I just want to encourage everyone, like who wants to go into this, to just go for it. To not be daunted by what seems like huge obstacles, and to get out there. So my strongest advice to anybody who comes to me for mentoring or career guidance in this, my advice is, of course, in a post-COVID world, is, which region interests you? Where do you speak languages? Can you afford to buy a ticket and go there? Because that's really where this all starts. It starts in the affected communities. And so again, it's not relevant, unfortunately, to these terrible times that we're living in now with the pandemic. But generally speaking, I encourage everyone to, if you're students in the US, you've got to speak some other languages and you've got to be willing to and interested in traveling to interesting locations, and buy a ticket and go. That's how I started, and that's the way to really get the exposure that you need in order to properly bring this kind of justice or help others bring this kind of justice. So I would just, you can do it if you want to do it. You definitely can.
Thank you so much. What a fantastic note to end on. So thank you so much, Max, for coming in and sharing your expertise with us. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be here.